You know, for generations, the DuBose family had really built a life for themselves in South Carolina. They were established, they were successful, they had deep roots. But the American story has always been one of movement, right? And in the early 1800s, this family, just like so many others, felt that pull towards the western frontier. Their story, it's really a window into one of the great migrations in American history.
And that's the big question we're tackling here. I mean, imagine you've got it all: a comfortable life, a legacy, a whole community around you. Why in the world would you pack everything up and risk it all on a dangerous, grueling journey into a completely untamed wilderness? Well, the answer lies in this powerful combination of a push and a pull.
Okay, so first, let's really get a picture of what they were leaving behind. This wasn't some desperate flight from poverty. Not at all. The DuBoses were part of the established gentry in South Carolina. But even for them, you could start to see some cracks appearing in the foundation of that very comfortable life. See, here's the thing. The very thing that made them so successful was starting to become a major limitation. After almost 100 years of planting the same cash crops over and over, we're talking indigo and cotton, the land was just worn out. At the same time, family tradition meant that with every new generation, the ancestral lands got split into smaller and smaller pieces. So for the ambitious younger sons, the dream of building their own grand plantation was becoming almost impossible in South Carolina.
So if the situation back home was kind of a gentle nudge, the promise of the West was this incredibly powerful magnetic pole. A phenomenon swept through the South, a craze so intense they actually gave it a name: Alabama fever. And we're not talking about just a casual interest here. This was a full-blown land rush. After the War of 1812 and the forced removal of the Creek Nation, huge territories of unbelievably rich, dark soil, the legendary Black Belt, were suddenly open for settlement. That promise of cheap, untouched land, it was an almost irresistible lure for anyone feeling squeezed back east.
And when you lay it all out like this, you can really see the choice they were facing. On one side, you've got diminishing returns in South Carolina. On the other, you have the incredible, almost unlimited potential of Alabama. It was a huge gamble, for sure. But for a lot of people, it was a calculated risk, a chance to start over and build something even bigger than what they were leaving behind.
Okay, so deciding to go, that was one thing. Actually getting there? Well, that was a whole different story. The journey from the coastal plains of South Carolina all the way to the interior of Alabama was a massive undertaking, a real test of endurance and sheer will. And to really wrap our heads around this trek, let's zoom in on one specific family line, anchored by Elisha DuBose. He was a great-grandson of the original immigrant. His family's multi-generational move, first into Georgia and then deep into Alabama, it just perfectly captures the spirit and the challenges of this whole westward expansion.
You have to picture what this was really like. This wasn't one family heading out with a map. No way. We're talking about entire communities, dozens of families moving together in these long wagon trains for protection and to help each other out. They had to deal with treacherous river crossings where there were no bridges and navigate roads that were really just muddy tracks. And all the while, they were facing the constant threat of sickness and brutal weather.
And here's something absolutely crucial we have to talk about, a really somber reality of this expansion. The wealth and success of these new plantations were built on the labor of enslaved people. They were also part of this journey, but not by choice. They were forcibly migrated, often torn away from their own families back in South Carolina just to clear the virgin forests of Alabama, and then labor under the most brutal conditions. So for those who actually survived the journey, Alabama was a true frontier. There were no towns, no established society. The very first thing they had to do was literally carve a new life out of the wilderness, clearing the land, building a log home, and planting that first critical crop of cotton.
And wow, did the DuBose family land on their feet. They didn't just survive, they absolutely thrived. Records show they pretty quickly reestablished their prominent social standing across several counties in Alabama. In Dallas County, they built new fortunes from that rich soil. Over in Autauga, they stepped up as local leaders, shaping the new communities. They were basically creating a brand new heartland for this branch of the family.
And it wasn't just about farming either. Take Dr. Franklin Davis DuBose, a descendant of that same Elisha we followed on the trail. He became a prominent and respected physician in Shelby, Alabama. This is just a perfect example of the family not only reestablishing their wealth, but also diversifying their influence and becoming these essential, professional pillars of their new society.
So, when you pull back and look at the big picture, this Great Migration was, in a lot of ways, a second founding for this branch of the Dubose family. It was a profound act of reinvention.
And this quote right here, it just nails it. Just like their Huguenot ancestor Isaac Dubose fled persecution in France for new life, his descendants risked their comfortable lives for a new opportunity in Alabama. It's like history repeating itself, right? This powerful echo of ambition and risk-taking just seems to be woven into the family's DNA.
But that leaves us with one last really tough question to chew on. This story is one of classic American pioneering, ambition, and success. But it's also a story built on taking land and on forced labor. So as we reflect on this Great Migration, we have to ask ourselves, what is the true and very complicated cost of a new beginning?